target jobs in the United States. 11,000 hourly shitty jobs and 74 salary jobs. Pretty good, well-paying jobs. Target jobs in India. 100 salary tech jobs, skilled jobs, auditors, data scientists, data analysts, lead engineers, senior data scientists, all pretty good, decent jobs. Today we're diving into a topic that's had massive impact on the United States economy, and whether you realize it or not, your day-to-day life, the rise of private equity.
On the job.
Friendly, polite, and attentive are words used to describe Ishmael Gilbert.
I tell myself if I talk to them better, maybe they'll talk to me better.
Private equity has exploded since the 2008 financial crisis, and in this video we're going to explore why that happened, how it works, and what it means for the quality of life for regular people like you and me in the US.
This foot-long pretzel has a dark secret behind it. I bought it at a Subway, but it's an Auntie Anne's pretzel. That's not the dark secret. Hold on. It's part of Subway's new campaign where they're footlonging everything. They've got the Auntie Anne's pretzels, their own cookies, and Cinnabon churros. And that's because Auntie Anne's, and Cinnabon, and Subway, and Baskin-Robbins, and Dunkin', and dozens of other iconic brands, from the Cheesecake Factory to Arby's to Sonic to the Bar Method to the actual School of Rock.
In simple terms, private equity firms raise money from wealthy individuals, pension funds, and other institutional investors to buy companies, often ones that are struggling or undervalued.
Variety of brands. But there's one thing they all have in common: incredibly low wages and other worker mistreatment. I spoke with the labor team.
They aim to make those companies more profitable and then sell them at a higher price, turning a tidy profit for themselves and their investors. Sounds straightforward, right? But the way these firms operate can have ripple effects across the economy. So why did private equity take off after 2008? Well, when the financial crisis hit, interest rates were slashed to near zero levels. This made borrowing money extremely cheap. At the same time, traditional banks became more regulated, so many companies turned to private equity firms for capital instead of going to banks or raising money through public markets, and private equity firms were ready to pounce.
This building right over here, there used to be a for-profit school called John Bauer. John Bauer belonged to a corporate school group that in 2008 was acquired by Danish private equity firm Accel in a so-called leveraged buyout.
And 5 years later, the school filed for bankruptcy, leaving 1,000 teachers without a job and 11,000 students without a school. Private equity has been described as capitalism on steroids and has attracted a lot of criticism over the years. After the John Bauer bankruptcy, even the somewhat neoliberal Swedish finance minister Anders Borg criticized private equity. When private equity firm Accel bought the John Bauer school group, they loaded it up with a mountain of debt. Immediately after the acquisition, John Bauer had to start paying huge sums in interest to service this debt. And as long as John Bauer kept expanding as much as Accel had expected and projected, everything was fine. But when John Bauer no longer was able to attract as many students and failed to increase revenues, things got tough. John Bauer had to start cutting costs to afford its interest payments, and scandals soon started piling up. And in 2013, John Bauer had to file for bankruptcy.
They used that cheap debt to buy up companies, everything from retail brands to healthcare providers to tech startups. The impact on your daily life. Now, this is where it starts to affect you. When private equity firms take over a company, they often aim to increase profits by cutting costs, which can mean layoffs, lower wages, or reduced benefits for workers. In fact, some research suggests that employment in companies bought by private equity tends to decline in the years following a buyout. But it's not just jobs. Private equity has also made a huge impact on industries like healthcare, where firms have been buying up hospitals and medical practices. This consolidation can lead to higher healthcare costs for consumers, as these firms often raise prices to boost profits. So why does any of this matter to you? Well, the rise of private equity means that more and more of the economy is controlled by these firms. And while private equity can bring efficiency to businesses and make them more competitive, it can also have negative effects on wages, jobs, security, and even the quality of services you rely on, like healthcare or retail stores. In short, the boom in private equity since 2008 has helped reshape the US economy, often in ways that prioritize profits over people. And while some have certainly benefited, particularly investors, the effects on everyday workers and consumers like me and you have been bad. Prices are high because they took advantage of the pandemic to bring them up, and they never brought them down. After all, they do whatever they want. Jobs are shittier and shittier in the US. Looking ahead, private equity is only expected to grow, with firms raising more money and buying even bigger companies. This could mean more opportunities for investors, but it also means we need to be mindful of how it affects jobs, wages, and prices.